Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today, Representative Hunt. I guess just to start off, talk to me a little bit about why you decided to get into this race.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for having me on. And I decided to get in this race because over the last few months, I've been monitoring this race very, very closely. And what I've realized is that the state of Texas cannot be about a blood feud between Ken Paxton and John Cornyn at the end of the day. This has to be about the issues that are most important to my fellow Texans. Let's talk about the border. Let's talk about the oil and gas industry. Let's talk about safety. And nobody is talking about those things because they're at each other's throat fighting this blood feud. And so what I've realized is that it's time for the next generation of leadership to step into the fray to lead us moving forward. And one thing I always say, and that is the United States Senate is not a retirement community. It is time for people that are in their 30s and 40s and 50s to step into the fray because we have skin in the game. I have a 6, I have a 4, and I have a 2-year-old at my house. Every decision I make is hinges on their future. And I got to make sure that I'm doing the right thing because I'm going to be around to see those decisions that I make now come to fruition. And that's why I got in this race.
Speaking of which, you've been on the fringes of this race for a while, right? There was that ad buy that wasn't associated directly with you, but
Yeah.
seven figures across the state outside of your current congressional seat over there. Uh, what about it decided, okay, this is the time to jump in here? And what took you so long to make that declaration while there was all this momentum coming and you were on TV across the state for a long time?
Well, raising your name ID is very important. I mean, if you think about it, when you're running as a congressman, it's very important to get your name ID throughout the state. Everyone knows who you are in your district, but not statewide. And when you're running potentially against two gentlemen that have been on the statewide ballot for decades, it's just important to raise your name ID. And so once I saw polling with us being around the 20s and that 20 kind of percent area, I realized that there certainly is an appetite for my candidacy and that there is still 20 people plus, 20% plus that's still undecided in this race. And when you have John Cornyn that's been there for 24 years, he started off as the Attorney General in Texas in 1992. His name was first on the ballot in 1983. I was 3 years old. So when you have guys that have been on the ballot for decades, and there's still quite a few people that are undecided, with 20% leaning my way before I even got into the race, it showed me that there certainly is an appetite for a candidate like myself.
So talk to me a little bit about what are some of the big issues that you would like to see tackled at the Senate level that you can't do from the House of Representatives side?
Well, my first order of business when I'm a United States Senator is going to be to overturn the gun control legislation that John Cornyn co-authored with Colin Allred and was praised for it by Joe Biden in the Rose Garden. That is not Texas. As a military guy, as somebody that is a hunter, as a West Point graduate, as somebody that flew Apaches for 8 years in the United States military, I am somebody that understands the importance of our Second Amendment and that right shall not be infringed. And that is probably the biggest reason why I'm in this position is because John Cornyn simply lost touch with the base. You cannot author gun control legislation in Texas. Also, I was the first person in the country to endorse President Trump. I campaigned with him. I helped him get elected. I was one of President Trump's top surrogates. And John Cornyn did not endorse President Trump until after he was shot. John Cornyn also said that it's, quote, time to move on from President Trump. Texas then goes on to turn in President Trump's direction to the tune of 15 plus percent. So guess what? He was wrong about that too, and I was right all along. And so the idea of us having young America First patriots that are willing to give the best years of their lives to this country right here, right now, that's what makes me different from anybody else in this race.
Speaking of your military background, lots of conversation over the last week about the federalizing of the National Guard and using it in American cities like Chicago and Portland. What are your thoughts on that?
It is the federal government's job to keep our citizens safe. I spend half of my time in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is one of the murder capitals of the United States of America. And what's happened over the course of the past few weeks? When President Trump sent the National Guard to D.C., for 3 weeks, there were no murders. Literally, 15 lives are still with us because President Trump acted in the best interest of our American citizens. Also, DC is a minority majority city. It's a black majority city, which means that he's saving essentially black lives. Black lives are saved in DC. Black lives will be saved in Chicago. Black lives will be saved in Portland. And so when I think about Democrats fighting against this, it really kind of makes me wonder, do you really not care about black lives? Do you really not care about the citizens of our country? All he wants to do is clean up our streets, and I'm so glad he is acting accordingly, and I fully support it.
So, you mentioned earlier, so far this race has been this kind of bloodbath between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. The day you announced, John Cornyn's team kind of turned their focus fire towards you. I think Matt Mackowiak said that no one is happier than the Democrats the day that you hopped in the race because he feels that it makes this Senate seat more vulnerable. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know if you saw this the statewide poll that came out Monday, and keep in mind this poll was actually conducted before I even got in the race. In a statewide election against Colin Allred, I'm up +5. John Cornyn is up +3, and Ken Paxton is up +1. I am already outperforming the two guys that have been in this race, that have been in statewide politics for decades. And I've been in this race now literally for a cup of coffee, and I'm already outperforming the Democrats because somebody like me is a Democrat's worst nightmare. So Matt Mackowiak couldn't be more wrong. Well, his statement could be further from the truth. We have the empirical data, and again, we need somebody that is a young America First patriot that's been with President Trump from day one, that can win this primary without spending millions and millions of dollars. And again, John Cornyn has spent $25 million in the last few weeks. $25 million is $24 million more than $1 million. That is a lot of scratch. And to still be in second place is a complete and total abomination. People want someone different in our primary elections, and I'm already winning the general election by the largest margin of the two. It is clear that there is clearly an appetite for somebody like me in this race.
Speaking of the Democrats on the other side, you have a contested primary right now between Colin Allred, who ran against Senator Cruz and lost handily last cycle, and James Tallarico, sort of bringing this 2018 Beto vibe to the Democratic Party. What are your thoughts on the field opposite to you?
Well, the good thing is I'm already beating both of them, and I'm beating both of them handily. And my name ID statewide is lower than both of them, and I'm still up 5 or 6 points. So again, the choice for us couldn't be more clear. Let's win this primary, put this to bed. Let's move on to the general election, and let's not waste time and money when you already have a candidate that can achieve both.
I've heard you praise Attorney General Paxton before. Was a part of your decision to get in this race kind of a deal where you aren't sure that he's the right candidate to beat John Cornyn?
I'm speaking more to what the appetite is of the electorate. Again, there's 23% still undecided. Ken Paxton has been the Attorney General, and I've stated this before, done a pretty good job as being a good Attorney General. He has been an America First Attorney General. I have no complaints over how he has performed, to be honest with you. But the issue is that the people of Texas and the primary voter, they're speaking. There's 23% of the people that are undecided on both of these two candidates, which obviously leaves a lane for us to get in. And again, just before I even got into this race, polling was done that had me in the low 20s. Now, how am I in the low 20s with there still being that many undecideds and the electorate is clearly looking for somebody that can fill this void? And I believe I am that person.
And another avenue that your opponents use to attack you a lot is your voting record, not necessarily what you vote, but how often you have taken those votes. What's your response to that?
I think the most important thing that my fellow Texans care about is what you vote on. And I can tell you one thing, I am not going to vote to co-author or co-sponsor gun control legislation like John Cornyn. But I did miss some votes. I missed votes early on in my career 2 years ago because my son was actually in the NICU. So I was flying back and forth while he was born. Also, it's been very well documented that I have been I traveled around the country with President Trump while he was campaigning. I was one of his top surrogates. I was in Iowa 11 times. I flew with the president from Chicago to Nevada, and Nevada to California, and California to Colorado. I flew with the president to Allentown, Pennsylvania. I flew with the president to Florida. And so as his top surrogate, in what I thought was the most consequential election of our lifetime, yes, I chose to miss some votes to help out the now president of the United States of America. As the first person in the country to endorse him, I think that puts me in pretty good standing. And the people of Texas want to see somebody that's going to vote for them and be there for the votes that count. I don't think that they are as concerned with naming a post office or roll call vote as they are concerned with ensuring that they have a senator that's not going to co-author gun control legislation.
You know, one of the things that everyone's focused on the Senate right now is those continued votes to get that continuing resolution passed to reopen the government. How do you feel your colleagues on the Senate side, on the Republican side, have handled this so far? What would you do as a senator?
Oh, we've already done our job. This is the Schwager shutdown. I think they were caught flat-footed. The fact that we were able to get this out of the House of Representatives with a 2-seat majority, we sent it over to them, and every Republican has voted for it. They need to get 5 more Democrats across the board, and they're choosing not to do it. They have to own this. We have done our part. We have got to stand strong and continue to allow the American people to see this is a clean CR. It is 24 pages. It continues government spending at where it was. And no, we are not in the business of funding health care for illegal immigrants. We have got to stick to our guns and know that we are on the right side of history in this fight.
As you try to get your name ID up, what's kind of just a 30-second to a minute long elevator pitch? Why should voters want to vote for Wesley Hunt?
There is 60 years worth of military service just in my immediate family. My dad's a retired colonel. My sister's a West Point graduate. My brother's a West Point graduate. I'm a West Point graduate. At one point in 2006, my brother, sister, and I were all stationed in Baghdad at the same time. We have skin in this game, and we believe in serving this great nation. And in my early 40s, I believe it is now time to continue to give my best years to this country, because the United States Senate is not a retirement community. I was the first person in the country to endorse President Trump. I have stood by his side the entire time. And what you will get with me is the next generation of America First leadership. Keep in mind, our vice president is 41 years old. Our Secretary of War is 44 years old. Our Secretary of State is in his early 50s. Now is the time to codify what President Trump has done for us for the past decade, for the future. And I am the man to do it for Texas.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time. Is there anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, thank you, brother. I really appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you so much, Representative Hunt.
Have a good one, man. Thank you.
You
God
too.
bless you. Of course.